Can you really be healed if you can't cure something? Imagine having a child and being told that they have a chronic skin condition that has no cure. And you're thinking they have to live with this and deal with this for the rest of their lives. Well, just because something doesn't have a cure, does it mean that someone can't be healed? I'm Dr. Mina. Welcome to my channel, The Skin Real, where I give real people real skin information and education so that they can make informed decisions about their skin health. Sound good? Let's get into it. This is my weekly recap episode where I break down my key takeaways from my recent interview with Dr. Meena Julapalli. If you want to hear the full episode, I highly recommend it. Stick around to the end of this episode and I will link it. Dr. Julapalli is a pediatric dermatologist who practices in a direct pay practice in Houston, Texas. And she does an amazing job of blending integrative approaches to taking care of her patients, many of whom have chronic skin conditions that have no cure. But just because something doesn't have a cure doesn't mean there is no hope. It doesn't mean that an individual cannot be healed. And I think she really just covered this beautifully in the interview. I really just loved it. So, let's get real. Skin conditions, they don't just affect your skin, right? It doesn't just stop on the outside, right? Skin conditions affect so much more. It affects who you are, who you maybe grow up to become, how you present yourself to the world, how you're treated by your family, your friends, your community. It affects your confidence levels. And for people who are living with chronic skin conditions, especially children, it can be really, really challenging and difficult. I think we undervalue how much skin conditions affect people. And here is a stat that really astounded me that Dr. Julapalli shared with me, that chronic skin conditions were the second most distressing health issue for children and their families. This was only second to cerebral palsy. Basically, having a chronic skin condition was more debilitating for children and families than even things like cystic fibrosis or diabetes or chronic kidney disease, which is really just astounding to me. And it just shows the importance of these conditions and that we don't minimize them or just tell people to deal with it, to move on, to get over it, because it really is impactful. Say you have a child with chronic eczema, and I'm talking about eczema head to toe. Your child cannot stop scratching. They scratch themselves till they're bleeding, till their skin has sores that can then become infected. Their skin becomes thickened from all the rubbing and the scratching. They can't sleep at night because they're so uncomfortable and itchy. And when your child can't sleep, any parents out there know this, right? You can't sleep. So the whole family is really affected by these skin conditions. So it's important that we really get a handle on them. And treating these chronic skin conditions is so much more than just writing a prescription or giving someone a cream to use. Treating these, especially these chronic skin conditions, really involves helping the patient or the person heal. And that happens when we treat our patients as people, as a whole person with their own unique identity, and also treating the family as well. One of a big component of Dr. Julapalli's practice is really helping empower not only her children, but also the families and educating them with information, teaching them about stress management techniques and good sleep hygiene and diet and relaxation strategies. These things that we don't really think about, especially in Western medicine and certainly how our insurance-based healthcare system is set up. It really doesn't allow time to invest in discussing these things with our patients and their families, but they are so powerful and impactful. And Dr. Julapalli shared a story which really was amazing to me, showing the power of mindset that she really tries to instill in her patients. a shift in their mindset and reframing what it means for them to have whatever skin condition they are dealing with. And instead of feeling like it's a disability, trying to teach them and show them that actually this can be your superpower, right? Every superhero has an origin story, right? And there's always a struggle. There's always a struggle for them until they get to be the superhero. And she helps these children see that they are more than just their diagnosis or their condition, and that they can actually use their struggles to turn it into a superpower. So she had this beautiful story about a girl who came in, very severe eczema. It was flaring all the time. Nothing was working. None of the medications, the creams seemed to be helping. And she really was feeling incredibly depressed and down, and mom was as well. And Dr. Julapalli just stopped right then and there, and they sat in a circle and they meditated together. And Dr. Julapalli helped teach this young woman mindfulness and affirmations, and she helped turn this really dark time in this girl's life in gave her hope, right? Because during these struggles, it's hard to see the end. It's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's hard to have hope. But she helped teach her how, by meditating and by saying affirmations and by focusing on her mindset, she could flip the switch and actually regain her confidence and feel empowered. And the girl started doing this. She started doing it every day at home. And when she came back for her next visit, her eczema was tremendously improved. And I know sometimes people think, oh, come on, that really can't be that powerful. But mindset is everything. What you think, the thoughts you tell yourself, right? It is so, 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 so powerful, more powerful than medications and prescriptions and things like that. And I'm not saying that those don't have a role, because they do, but sometimes we need to think outside the box, especially with these chronic conditions. And Dr. Julapalli will say, I didn't do this. I just gave the young woman the tools that she needed to empower herself. And does she still have eczema? Yes. Is she still going to have flares at times in her life? Yes. She's not cured, but she's healed. And she's truly, truly healed, not just with her skin, but from the inside out. And I just thought that what an amazing, beautiful story, right? Have you ever heard of a doctor sitting down and meditating with you, right? In this day and age, it really just blew my mind. But I just think that's so powerful. And kids aren't too young to learn this kind of stuff. In fact, this is when we really need to be bringing it to them so that when they're young adults, they have these skill sets, because life is full of struggles, right? Whether you have a chronic skin condition, maybe you have another chronic medical condition, or maybe you just have normal day to day struggles like we all do, right? But it's focusing on empowerment and mindset and reframing can be so, so powerful, even with medical conditions. And I would say, especially with these medical conditions where we don't have a cure, and that we really have to think of ways that we can turn it into something positive and impactful. Another thing we talked about in the episode was the importance of community. And I know this to be true because when I feel like I'm around my people, I'm just inspired and invigorated, and it's just wonderful. And kids need this too. They need to be around people that bring them up, where they don't feel different, where they can be themselves. And kids need this as just like adults. There is a really cool camp called Camp Discovery that the American Academy of Dermatology offers to children with skin conditions. And this camp is totally free. And it's summer in the summer, summer in the winter, but it's where children of all ages can go for free and get to just be kids. They're not patients, they're not their diagnoses, and they get to be around other kids that have similar skin conditions. They may have never met someone else with the condition that they have, but when they go to this camp, they have community. They have people who know what it's like to go through what they're going through. And when they leave the camp, they haven't just had fun and played and swam and done a ton of fun activities. They leave with renewed confidence that they can do anything, that they are not defined by their diagnosis or their struggles. And so I just think what an amazing opportunity. When I was in med school, I did a ski camp with kids with epidermolysis bullosa, where their skin, they call them butterfly children because they have a mutation in collagen in their skin. And even the slightest trauma or friction to their skin can cause the skin to slough off. And then, depending on what kind of epidermolysis bullosa you have, it can heal with scarring. And the scarring can be very, very severe. And it was just amazing to go to this camp with kids with this fragile skin condition and be able to help these children ski, something you would think is not possible for someone with this condition, but with proper protection of their skin, with proper wound healing. These kids got to spend several days just being kids, just having fun, just doing what every other kid gets to do and play and not be defined by their disease, which I think is sometimes hard. I really love this episode and just talking with Dr. Julapalli. She's really so inspiring as a woman, a dermatologist. As dermatologists or as doctors, right? It's not just about curing what we see or curing the diagnosis. It's actually about empowering our patients, empowering them, educating our patients with information, with guidance, with knowledge, because ultimately our patients have to live with this condition. They are the ones day in and day out that have to deal with it. And not everything can be cured with a prescription or a cream. And so it's important that we give them tools to really use their condition not as a disability, but as a superpower so that they're not just surviving, but thriving. I know for those who are struggling with chronic skin conditions, the journey, it's not always easy. There are ups and downs, there are peaks and valleys, and there can be some really, really low points and times where you feel like you can't take it anymore. And I really feel as a dermatologist, part of my job is not just to try to cure or treat a condition, but to really give my patients education and guidance and help show them that their condition doesn't define them and it actually can be their superpower. And that even if there's not a cure, there's always hope and there's always the potential to heal. And I just love that message from Dr. Julapalli. If you want to hear the full episode, be sure to check it out here, and I will see you next week.